What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. I'm Shannon Tynes, and I'm here with Chris Abacon. What's going on, Chris?
What's going on, everybody?
All right, man. So, as you guys can see, it's still just the two of us, right? Me and Chris, we're going to hold it down, right? We're going to welcome Daniel and Ryan back at a future date, but today is not that date. You get to enjoy yesterday, right? So let's go ahead and jump right into it, right? So this next article comes from bleepingcomputer.com by Bill Toulis, and the title of this one is New Rockstar 2FA Phishing Service Targets Microsoft 365 Accounts, right? So, folks, we see it, right? So, this is a phishing-as-a-service platform, and it's called Rockstar 2FA, right? And this is a large scale, so large scale, right? Because when you see Microsoft, you almost always have to say it's large scale, because how they're using 85% of the world out there is using Microsoft in some form or fashion, right? So this is an adversary in the middle attack, and it's used to steal Microsoft 365 credentials, right? So for the ease of what Microsoft is doing out there, where they're like, hey, we're going to make it easier for you guys to access, all these different products, using just one credential to get into all of them instead of, logging into your account for, Excel, Word, Exchange, or whatever. They got that Microsoft 365 out there, right? Log into that one spot, and then you get access to everything, right? So what does this end up doing? Stealing the credentials for that, right? So these attacks, man, they're becoming more and more sophisticated, right? So what this allows you to do is to bypass the multi-factor authentication, which that protection is still a good protection, right? If you have multi-factor out there for anything, I still stress, please use it whenever possible, right? It makes it at least a lot harder steal credentials, right? Or someone to pretend to be you, right? So what this does, it bypasses the multi-factor authentication protections and it intercepts valid session cookies, right? So what it does is you start going to these fake login pages, right, that mimic Microsoft 365. And we talked about this before, right? We've had it before where it's pay attention to the websites that you're going to, right? Make sure you're not going to a Microsoft or something like that, because they're getting very good at putting legit logos on these pages and everything, because you can find this stuff everywhere, right? The branding for these big companies is crazy, right? So it's out there everywhere. They can just add it onto, some type of website that they've spoofed or whatever. And if you're not paying close enough attention, you end up just putting your credentials in, right? And then that's how they get you, right? Because now they've got valid credentials from you because you put it into site that was not legitimate. You know what I mean? So folks, you got to be careful out there. You gotta be mindful of what's going on and just be careful in general in stuff that's coming to you, right? So they're phishing, right? So the way they do it is they send things that appear valid, when it comes to finances and things of that nature, right? To where you're like, oh, I want to take care of those types of things, right? So you're not looking that hard. You're just trying to fix the problem. I don't want my money messed with. I don't want this, healthcare or whatever it may be. That's how they get you. That's how they get their foot in the door. And then when you're not paying attention and you log in with valid credentials, your own credentials, right? This is how they bypass it. But yeah, folks, be careful. We say this all the time on the podcast, and I just want everybody to be aware. This is all about mitigating risk, right? The risk will never be zero. It's unless it's abstinence. Like I say all the time, this is abstinence and you're just not doing anything at all, which is impossible in this day and age, right? It's very possible, right? Unless you're the new Unabomber or something like that, maybe, right? You're out in a cabin in the woods somewhere doing something, no phone, no electronics or something, but that's very hard to do in this day and age, right? So it's very hard. But yeah, folks, be careful out there. Like I said, they're out there spoofing Microsoft 365 credentials. So just pay attention to the website you're going to make sure you are not falling for this trap. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, so this is a very advanced attack, right? And I think the fact that multi-factor authentication is obviously a good thing. Obviously, it's a great way to prevent any unauthorized access, because remember, multi-factor authentication. Consider those. There's three factors, right? Something you have, something you are, and something you know. So something you know is usually the most common, being your passwords, right, guys? And then something you have could be something like a token or a card, like a smart card or a YubiKey, right? Something that you have, and then something you are is biometrics, right? Something you are could be your fingerprints, for example, if you use Touch ID, or if you're an iPhone user, a Face ID, right? And many other companies start using facial recognition as well. So a combination of those creates that multi-factor authentication. But the way this specific, it's crazy how this is like phishing as a service. So organized crime can pay $200 for 2 weeks and just start phishing, right? Start phishing as long as they probably have a list of emails from the dark web, and they send like legit emails, like very, very legit looking emails to their victims, and in hopes that they utilize that specific link to, kind of hijack their credentials through like the cookies, right? Everybody knows cookies. They kind of let you browse the web faster. Almost think of them as like memory, or think about them as like a history for your browsing, right? Or things like that, right? So cookies are actually what enable you to use single sign-on. They remember what sites you went on, and they remember, for example, that you logged into a specific series of websites. So let's pick Microsoft 365, for example, right? When you open a new window on, let's say you're in a 365 website. You open a new window to go to the Excel, right? It's opening another application or a web application, and in a different tab. And it utilizes that cookie to know that, oh, Chris signed in here. Cool. Browser's going to let you go into there, right? So think about it like that. The way that these programs work is that they send you an email. So that's the key thing. They'll send you an email. You get that QR code, and then they start linking, and they start sending you these redirects. And then a landing page is actually, for at least Rockstar 2FA, they actually send you to a legit looking Cloudflare turnstile. You guys have seen those when you log into, or when you go to different websites, right? Verify you're human. That's some Cloudflare thing where either you're, clicking on something that says you're human, or you are making sure that, you pick like, oh, these are the stairs, or this is the car, right? So it'll actually send you something legit like that. So it's crazy. Yeah, the CAPTCHA. So it's crazy. And then once you go through all that, the specific program steals your cookie, and here you go. Your credential is compromised. It's a wrap. So now they can get access to it because they've found maybe your password or something to that effect, right? It's crazy. But the fact that this is done at scale makes me think this is on this speculation, but Rockstar 2FA is probably hosted on the cloud somewhere. Right? It's probably on some AWS. It's probably on some runs like what is it? It runs containerized. It runs on containers or whatnot. But it's unbelievable, right? So it shows you how all of the products that we've been using to make our lives easier, to make the ease of infrastructure easier. Hey, this stuff can be used against us. It can be used against the good guy. The more convenient your life gets, the more complicated the attack vector can get, right? And those are kind of my 2 cents there. Really, I think big one here is, I think Shannon hit it right in the head. Like, be aware of what you're browsing. If it looks somewhat different, right? Even if it's a legit looking email, don't click on it, And my hope is that email filtering and all these prevention and detection programs, they get smarter, right? As the adversary gets smarter and realizes, hey, look, this is not a legit link, right? This is not a legit email, because they'll just add like a dot somewhere, or add a second I in Microsoft.com, and you'll realize, oh crap, that's actually that's the wrong URL. I'm not clicking on that. I'm deleting that and sending that to my admin, to make sure that everybody in the company is aware. Hey, look, guys, they're targeting our company because we have something important, right? But this is I just remember reading this article and I said, this is crazy. They'll do whatever to get your credentials.
The thing is, it's becoming more prevalent because of the whole single sign-on thing, right? Like, you don't have to go and do, like, just say somebody was going to put different passwords in for like all the Microsoft resources they were going to use, right? Probably not, right? But let's just say they were. Like, they don't have to do that with the SSO, right? Like, with single sign-on is just like, I get this one, and like you're
right.
It doesn't require another password. It's like, no, I already verified you here, right? You're good. Go ahead and access this, and it becomes easier and easier for them to start poking and prodding and doing whatever, because they've got the keys to the kingdom, which is that one infiltration. So it's becoming, like you were talking about, man, like you hit it on the head with the convenience of everything that we want to do makes it easier for these guys to do this. And here's the thing, like you're talking about with hoping like spam filtering catches these things. Like, we're in that period to where, because things are getting better, at fooling those filters. You know what I mean? Like the advent of AI and things of that nature makes it to where it doesn't look as suspicious as it used to, right? There are things the spam filter used to look for that just are not happening as frequent as they used to, right? So they are getting through there more often. Like I've had it recently where I've got some stuff come through. I'm like, what is this? You know what I mean? Then I'm like, okay, mark as junk. You know what I mean? Move to junk folder. This, that, and the third. It's getting better. It's just, it's we're in that phase where it's like, okay, well, we got to catch up, right? Like it's the more reactive than proactive to these types of things that's happening right now. But that's kind of where we are. That's the ebb and flow of all of this,
And like tides are shifting all the time. Sometimes the bad guys have the advantage, and then hey, we got our defensive guys with the advantage, right? So it's, and I think our next article is going to discuss that as well.
Foreshadowing. I love it. I
Exactly.
love it. But all right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, right? So I got all the websites that go by the podcast name, right? Whether it be the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, Ask a CISSP, or ramcyber.io. You can find Ryan on about all of the social media platforms that are out there, right? He's on every single one of them, it seems like. When he's on here, he tells you can, he just says, go to all of them. You can more than likely find me, right? So, and it's at Rai Security Guy, our security guy is where you can find him, all right? Daniel can be found on LinkedIn under his name, Daniel Acevedo. And Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon, last name spelled A. Bacon.
Love it. Everybody remembers that because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they do. But all right, everybody, you stay safe, stay secure.
And guys.